Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mike Elko, this Texas A&M program really been doing a good job building this 2025 class out, and this weekend set to host plenty top targets in that 2025 class. Want to run through some of my favorite prospects that will be on campus this weekend for Texas A&M. And the thing that's really standing out to me over the last couple of months since Mike Elko has taken over in College Station is really the amount of buzz there seems to be, not only with the transfer portal targets, but also these kids coming from the high school ranks. I think they see Texas A&M as a program that, one, you can compete for a national championship, but more importantly, you have a head coach in there in Mike Elko that, in my mind, is one of the best player developers that you see across the country. And you look at the questions that some people might have had about Mike Elko recruiting at the SEC level, those questions going away relatively quickly for this Texas A&M program. Extremely excited to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. A massive shout out to the Texas A&M fans, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, whether we're taking film deep dives. This is a program that you guys all know I am extremely excited for, and the amount of support the Texas A&M fans have shown the boys truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content and enjoy the updates, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one now. With only 4 commitments in the fold for Texas A&M, this is a top 25 class. And again, Mike Elko really just starting to dig his teeth into the high school ranks. A lot of probably the first month since Mike Elko took that job was really dedicated to getting this team right in 2024. A lot of the recruiting efforts focused into the transfer portal. And there's no secret, Mike Elko did a phenomenal job building that transfer portal for Texas A&M. But the last couple of weeks, you're seeing that shift to Texas A&M building that 2025 class out and getting into a few top targets for Texas A&M that will be on campus. I want to start with 5-star tight end Lincoln Cure, who is one of the more exciting prospects in this 2025 class. And now Lincoln Cure from the state of Kansas is a heavy Kansas State lean, but if there is one program that I think can get the inside track on Kansas State, it's Texas A&M. Because you talk about Colin Klein recruited Lincoln Cure extremely hard when he was at Kansas State, but more importantly, I mean, what Colin Klein has done with the tight end position at Kansas State, and I think what he can sell the tight ends on the recruiting trail is, hey, you come to Texas A&M, you are going to be a centerpiece in this Colin Klein offense. And quite frankly, there's just not a lot of programs that can sell that to tight ends. I think Texas A&M with Colin Klein at that offensive coordinator position certainly can sell that vision. Now you get into Lincoln Cure and what he kind of brings to this Texas A&M offense. You're talking about truly a matchup nightmare. 6'6", 220 pounds. I mean, he has the frame of a tight end. The size is absolutely incredible. The catch radius is really special, but you're also looking at the athleticism and the route running and the ability to create separation like a wide receiver. And yeah, you probably got to put on some weight for Lincoln Cure as he gets into the college football landscape. I have no questions that weight can come on. You're talking about a 6'6" frame, but what stands out to me is the combination of the size and the athleticism that Lincoln Cure brings. And you look at the elite tight ends across the country, the number one thing you're looking for is those matchup nightmare traits, right? The size for defensive backs to really struggle with, and the speed and athleticism for linebackers to really struggle with. And I think Lincoln Cure checks those boxes. And again, you watch the film, they play him at that wide receiver spot, and you are really looking at a tight end that just wins with just raw athleticism. He has a basketball background. I'm a massive fan of Lincoln Cure and a massive fan of what Colin Klein could do with him in this Texas A&M offense. Next player I want to talk about, and one of my favorite linebackers in this 2025 class, that is Noah McKell from the state of California, on campus today for Texas A&M. And for Noah McKell, what you're looking at in my mind is that prototypical modern day linebacker where you have the length, you have the athleticism, you dive in to Noah McKell's film. He's normally playing safety for his high school team, but a guy that comes into the box and probably has a little bit more of a linebacker body. I could see him getting up to 6'3", 230 pounds, but what I love most about Noah's game is you look at the modern day of college football, and you guys hear me say this a lot when I'm talking about the linebacker position. You look at all these opposing offenses and what they're trying to do. They're trying to get speed and athleticism on the field. They're trying to test defenses with every blade of grass on the field, really spread defenses out. You, excuse me, you need linebackers that can kind of play like Edrin Cooper played for Texas A&M last year, guys that can fly around the field, do a variety of different things. And I think Noah McKell coming in with kind of that safety background, you feel really good about Noah McKell carrying tight ends up the seam, going out to the flat and covering running backs. You need linebackers to be able to operate in space, to be able to operate in coverage. And Noah McKell on the high school film certainly shows that. And so I'm a massive fan of Noah McKell. And again, I think he's a great fit in this Texas A&M defense. You look at some of the linebacker play that Texas A&M not only had last year, but has for the next couple of years. Guys like Torian York, Jordan Lockhart coming in that 2024 class. Really excited about the potential fit with Noah McKell at that linebacker spot. And again, exactly what you're looking for at that modern day linebacker spot. Now, next player I want to talk about, and someone that I'm very familiar with as a Michigan fan, was formerly committed to Michigan, and that is four-star cornerback Chris Ewald from the state of Florida. This is a guy that, in my mind, is a technician. Now, maybe the elite end physical traits you still want to see going into his senior year. But when you watch the film of Chris Ewald, he just understands the cornerback position at such a high level. He's a fluid mover, operates phenomenally in man coverage, and a guy that is gritty. Like, he is the ultimate competitor on the field, and that's a trait that you want at that cornerback spot. We all know that Texas A&M really wanted to address the secondary, and they did so extremely effectively in the transfer portal. But Mike Elko is going to want to start building some depth in that cornerback room. And Chris Ewald, a guy that, again, in my mind, one of the more technically sound cornerbacks at the high school level, would be a very nice fit for Mike Elko. And we talk about this all the time, the development that Mike Elko has shown with cornerbacks and defensive backs is really high. And I think that makes it a very attractive landing spot for guys like Chris Ewald. Last guy in the 2025 class that I want to talk about is Jaden Woods, 6'3", 240. Now, the thing that stands out to me about Jaden Woods is he is a wrestler, and you see it at a high level on the field. Now, it's from the state of Kansas, so maybe Colin Klein can do some work here as well. What stands out with Jaden Woods is you read about the all-state wrestling background, then you turn on the film, you talk about using your hands, you talk about using your leverage and kind of having really good functional athleticism in terms of getting off blocks, in terms of testing tackles with the athleticism around the edge. That's what you see with Jaden Woods, right? When you look at wrestlers, they need to play with, they need to operate. And I'm not a huge wrestling guy, but I know what it takes to be a good wrestler. You got to have good hands. You got to know how to use your body. And then when you take on the film of Jaden Woods, not only does he have that high-end athleticism, he has that wrestling background where he knows to use his hands, disengage with offensive linemen, and really be a guy that lives in the backfield. Again, as a Michigan fan, Mason Graham, probably the best defensive lineman in the country heading into 2024. He was an all-state wrestler coming out of high school too, and I think that really has helped his game at the college football level. Last one I want to talk about, and this is going to be jumping to the 2026 class, the number one prospect in the country, a guy that I think Texas A&M has a really good shot to land, is Jaem Stewart. Now, what stands out to me about Jaem Stewart is just God don't make many Jaem Stewarts, right? You look at 6'6", 270, phenomenal length, extreme athleticism for his size. I think Jaem Stewart is a guy that has that rare blend of the size and the athleticism, and is a guy that kind of, in my mind, is kind of a bona fide game record the minute he steps on campus. He looks to me, when you watch the film of him as a sophomore in high school, he looks like a guy that even as a junior could really step on a college football field and be able to produce. And he's obviously got 2 more years at the high school level. I'm a massive fan of Jaem Stewart. I'm a massive fan of the upside that he brings. Those are some of my favorite prospects on campus. But circling back to the conversation that we had to start this off, it's really cool to see all the buzz that Texas A&M is generating from the kids at the high school level. Guys want to go check out what's cooking at College Station. Mike Elko doing a phenomenal job building strong relationships with guys all over the country. I think that's really exciting for Texas A&M fans. Jimbo Fisher had no problem getting talent to Texas A&M. The problem with Jimbo Fisher was the development. We don't have those questions for Mike Elko. So if you see the recruiting kind of continue and recruit the same way Jimbo Fisher recruited at Texas A&M, but you start adding that tight ship as a program, really good player development, that's where Texas A&M takes that jump in my mind. I think we're seeing it right now. Wanted to go over some of my top prospects. Those are some of the guys that I'd be keeping an eye on if I'm Texas A&M fans. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.